knowing that this gentleman do well. I would like to join this as this honorable gentleman. And I know about his qualities, so I definitely will be lifted a little bit again tonight by his presence. So we look forward to have some nice chit chat and reminisce. Yeah. I don't have anyone else here except Mr. Marshall over there, or reminisce the memories of our elders. We're going to take you down that lane.
Indeed. And of course, I always leave the best for last. The rose.
I don't even know if I'm accepting that today, you know. I had decided to be very diplomatic on tonight's program, but I'm not taking all that licks that I just got there.
No, of course.
All that licks that I just got from all the songs. Livingston, and I know you'll understand. You know, I was left, you know, like when somebody WhatsApp you, and you WhatsApp somebody and you're left unseen, it's like they refuse to acknowledge your message. You didn't get the blue ticks.
Wow.
But yes, that's exactly what happened last week.
Well, I have to apologize because we were wondering what happened, and for some reason we didn't see you, so we humbly apologize. So our apologies. Right.
I stayed with the program throughout, and I was part of your guest on Facebook.
Yes, indeed.
So, yeah.
All right, great. Good. So, folks, we are going to reminisce. I think most of us here, we probably only heard of Hurricane Janet, but I want to start with our very special guest, Mr. Marshall. Mr. Marshall, 1955, Hurricane Janet destroyed Grenada and, you know, Carriacou, Barbados, a number of the Windward Islands, also some parts of Central America. Let us start with you to talk about the experience. I want to first, just briefly, prior to Hurricane Janet, how was life in your community and maybe by extension in Grenada at that time?
Okay, Godfrey and listeners, I was 1 month away from my 12th birthday when Hurricane Janet struck. Godfrey, I was then attending the St. Mark's RC School on Queen Street, Victoria. The society at that time could have been called a plantocracy. Unemployment wasn't a problem at that time. Nearly everybody working on the estate. Bouquet Estate, Diamond Estate, Non-Parel Estate, Bel Air Estate, Monsignor Estate, Bonnet Estate, and anytime after 6 on mornings, you can see the crowds of laborers going to their respective estates, Godfrey. They go early and they come back late. My mother was a laborer on one of those estates. And Godfrey, in those days, to nearly everybody, at least 50% of the people in my St. Mark's community walked barefooted. They walked barefooted. But not only that, nearly everybody lived in shuttle-type houses. There were a few concrete buildings, but that was for the upper class and the upper middle class. And those houses that were wooden houses, shuttle-type houses, was a hall and a room. The room is the bedroom. And the hall is where you put a chair or two. They may have an outside kitchen, maybe a galvanized kitchen, or a bamboo kitchen, or sometimes no kitchen. And the fireside would be in the kitchen, constructed with iron and concrete. Sometimes the fireside might be just 3 stones outside in the yard where they cooked. And Godfrey, even more. There is a river running through the tongue of Victoria. They call it the St. Mark's River. In those days, the water table could be described about 3 times what it is today. There were lots of rivers, lots of ravines, lots of streams, and the volume of water in all of those running streams and rivers was high. There were 8 places where they gathered the water, and they call it a chumbum. And sometimes it's 6-8 feet deep. And some people were afraid of mermaid in those chumbum. In those days too, crayfish for so. The big race type, the small race type, even the kakado, and mullets, and zangui, and teta, and lush, and zandome. All these were the types of life you found in the river. People had there was no scarcity for meat coming from the river. But on a Saturday, Godfrey, the river stones were all lined up with people, women with a basin and a bucket. That's where they go in and wash. And the little children bathing in the water. Women who are got it against each other, the throwing was for each other on the river stone. And when they finish wash, they take the bath and they go home with a bucket or a basin of wet clothes to spread home. So the Saturday at the river was busy. And to Godfrey, there were many things more. Life was the symbol of poverty. But there was something among the people that made that poverty a blessing. They would share a piece of butter. They would share 2 grains of matches, a piece of firewood. And anybody sick, it was like if the community was sick. When somebody died, hardly you get lacquer. The village carpenter made the coffin. Neighbors dug the hole. And everything was done by the people in the village. There was no individuality. It was the collectivity, the social conscience, and the social will at work. If one child does anything wrong, no matter how far away, what an adult does, complain to the parent.
So in other words,
that child.
yeah, in other words, Mr. Marshall, life was wonderful. It was a wonderful way of living and all of that. And then all of a sudden, one afternoon or one day, what started up like some showers eventually became Hurricane Janet. So let's move to that particular day and what actually happened. How did people know? Did you get prior warning? Was there any information out there to say to people, look, we expect a hurricane and people must get prepared? Tell us about that day and what happened?
Godfrey, let me tell you one more thing. The health of the people then wasn't so up to date. Thank God for Alexander Fleming, is his name, and penicillin. Crab, yaws, gall in the head were characteristics of lots of the people in the community. And pests like fleas and bugs and lice, that was not uncommon. But there was a happiness among the people because they didn't dream of a better life. They accepted their life. Now, in those days, radio was for the middle class and upper class. The radios were few. And it was only Reeves, 610 radio, and Radio Trinidad. But then your radio consisted of a big bulk of stuff, no transistor radio at the time, a big bulky stuff, and you run a wire up a long bamboo by your house in order to get the news. That's what the radio was like. But for the Po, there was hardly any radio. Okay? Telephone was only line phone. No cell phone, just landline. And that's for the middle class and the upper class again. Now, I went to school barefooted, and the whole class in my class was standard 5 at the time. I was nearing 12. Nearly everybody, except I remember 2 students who had what we used to call crepe. But the rest of us were barefooted. And we didn't mind that. Okay? Now, with regards to communication of that storm. That morning of the 22nd September, it was bright and sunny as I could hardly remember. Mommy went to work. My stepfather went to work in the plantation fields. I went to school. I went to the St. Mark's Artist School. I did my work as a student. Bright day, sunny day. I went home, I ate whatever little that mommy left for me in the house. I went back to school at 1 o'clock. And at 1:30, our principal, a man called Neville Sylvester, he really originated from St. Patrick's area. He rang the bell, the school bell. It was 2 schools, called a small school and big school. But in big school was the stage for me to address the students. He rang the bell, and teachers brought the classes into the big school. Everybody sat. Where who didn't get to see, they would stand and listen to what the principal had to say. And on that evening, just about 1:30, yes, the 2, the gentleman said, "Boys and girls, I have a message for you." I remember very clearly. You will have to leave the school and go home, go straight home. A hurricane is on its way. And then he made us say the Lord's Prayer. We all said the Lord's Prayer. When he said goodbye, the children shouted for joy and rampaged out the school. You know, when children get a little holiday, they did that for it. Then there was the tongue crier. That's the one who gave the message to the tongue. He went to one called Mr. Dabo. I remember him ringing the bell, ringing the tongue bell in his hand, from his hand, and saying, "Relations, friends, and parishioners, you are all warned of a coming storm. Please be prepared. Plang, plang, plang. Relations, friends, and parishioners, do not forget, we are going to face a storm." Plang, plang. And he walked down the road, Diamond Street, Queen Street, Haddon Smith Street, Henry Street, for about nearly 2 hours. And some people followed him. Then the police had a whistle. They didn't have vehicle at the time. They went around blowing the police whistle to alert people that. And then, after all that, there is this lamby shell, we usually call them conch shell, that the fisherman blows to call people to come and buy his catch. The fishermen came out and walked the streets, blowing the shells. Even those who were not fishermen, once they got a conch shell, they blew it to sound the alarm. But there was no sign of hurricane. 3 o'clock came. 4 o'clock came. Outside bright and nice. Roughly about 5, I noticed there was a kind of stillness in the air. The wind wasn't blowing. There was a kind of tension. And I saw which I never saw before. The underleaf of all trees raised up, and trees leaned towards the mountain. And I could feel a kind of warm current of air moving towards the mountain from the west to the east, and the trees all showed their underbelly. People found it so strange. Godfrey, about 6 to 6:30 in the evening, the first gale of wind blew. I was home with Mommy and 2 other younger siblings. When the wind blew, there were some coconut trees nearby. I see coconut flying as though you're pelting cricket balls. And branches flying too. And the coconut bent as low as maybe 6 feet from the ground, from a height of about 40 feet. Then Mommy started to cry. And she went inside the house. As we reached inside the house, Godfrey, a gale of wind blew and 3 sheets of galvanized flew out. Mommy bawled, "Oh God, Lord, take me." And call us children, "Come under the bed, come under the bed." I said, "Mommy, no, we can't go under the bed. Let's go and look for our house to go stay." She said, "No, I go die with all my children." Godfrey, about 7 o'clock. A man that was working in the Victoria pool, he could have been in his 40s. He said, he came and he shouted, Miss Ann, come out, come out." Then we all came out. Well, Mommy's common law keeper, he was like a child too. And when he came, right in front of the door that we had to go to the house from, was the roof of a bungalow house lying right there. So perhaps if we had left the house earlier, we would have been crushed by that bungalow roof. We went across the Victoria Park. That day, in those days, it was called the Elizabeth Park in Victoria. And then we went to a place of shelter. That's how it started for us. Anything else you want to know?
Right. Well, that's a nice pause here, because we need to just go and take our water break. And when we come back, I'm going to engage the others to hear what kind of experiences they encountered from some of the people that they spoke to. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay. Don't go anywhere.
Kindly greasy pole, and without dance from the maple.
Get high making money moves with the NLA's new Aces High Scratch game with 4 chances to win. Beat the dealer's card to win the prize shown. Reveal an A symbol. And just like that, you are automatically a winner. Scratch away to win the top prize of $10,000. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play.
Good evening, viewers and listeners. Welcome to the National Lotteries Authority's Daily Pick 3 Evening Draw for today, Friday, September 25th, 2020. I am Anisha Charles. With me this evening is Ms. Priscilla Barry from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose essential of this show is conducting in an accountable manner. The game balls with industry standards and in a way stamped with. At this time, your tickets ready. It's Daily Pick 3. It pays to play. Good luck. First over this evening is check your tickets in the meantime. First over this evening is 8, second number. Second number is 4, third and final number. Final number for this evening is 9. Okay, let's recap those numbers. Numbers on the screen. First number is 8. The second, 4. Third and final is 9. So that's 8, 4, and 9. Congratulations to all winners. Stay tuned at your daily cash flow drop next. We'll see you soon.
Tick, tock, 2. I win.
Feel like a big kid again when you play NLA's new scratch game, Tic-Tac-Toe. It's instant cash on the go. Reveal 3 X's or 3 O's in the same row, column, or diagonally, and win the prizes shown, or as much as $5,000. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play. Tic-Tac-Toe, please.
Give me a tic-tac-toe, please.
Tic-Tac-Toe, please.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Daily Cash for Evening Draw for today, Friday, September 25th, 2020. I am Anisha Charles. With me again is Ms. Priscilla Barry from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner. The game balls with industry standards and in a way tampered with. At this time, your tickets ready. It's Daily Cash for more plays, bigger prizes. Let's find out what this evening's winning numbers will be. Good luck. This evening is check it to get to the meantime. First number up is 9, second number is 0, third number up, third number is 1, fourth and final number is 2. Let's recount these numbers. It's on the screen. First number up is 9, the second 0, third 1, fourth and final is 2. So that's 9, 0, 1, and 2. Congratulations, all winners. Stay tuned at your play with you up next. We'll see you soon.
Win more with the NLA's Daily Cash 4. Every day with more plays and bigger prizes to be won. It's a 4-digit game with all the bet types you already know and much, much more. From 0000 to 9999. Choose your 4 numbers and place your bet from 11 different bet types. Choose from inline, 4 different mixes, first 3, last 3, and 4 different backup options too. Best of all, it starts at just $1, except for backups, which starts at $2. Win as much as $5,000 with a $1 inline bet and as much as $6,200 in a $2 backup bet. Imagine $50,000 for a winning $10 inline bet. There's definitely more to win with the Daily Cash 4. More plays, bigger prizes, twice per day, Mondays to Saturdays. Must be 18 and over to participate. NLA, making your dreams come true while supporting sports, culture, and nation building.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Playway Evening Draw for today, Friday, September 25th, 2020. I am Anisha Charles. With me again is Ms. Priscilla Barry from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner, and the game balls with industry standards and in a way tampered with. Let's play Playway, follow your dreams, and in your way. Good luck. This evening's winning Playway number is, check it to get to me time. Winning player number is 17. Let's recap the number 1717. 17 represents the dream symbol mongoose. Congratulations, all the winners of this evening's playway draw. Tune in later on for the lotto draw. This evening we're playing for a jackpot of $276,000. We'll see you then.
I'm a winner. You are winner. We are winners. Winners.
It's the big one. Grenada. Imagine winning $25,000 and up to 6 times by scratching just 1 later ticket. Get your triple cash scratch tickets for a chance to live your best life. Win easy with Scratch. For just $3, match any of your numbers to any of the winning numbers and win the prize shown for that number. Reveal a money back symbol and win the prize instantly. Triple cash scratch in stores now. Must be 18 or older to play.
'Cause I'm a winner. From the moment that I get up, I'm feeling right.
The countdown is on to win free groceries for 1 year with the Food Fair. Just a few more days left to shop for a chance to win up to $8,400 in groceries. Look out for the live grand draw on October 9th, 2020. Win free groceries for 12 months, free groceries for 6 months, or free groceries for 3 months. Promotion runs until September 30th, 2020. Terms and conditions apply.
Communal, we are adapting to meet the changing needs of our shareholders and members. Times are changing, and with the changing times comes a whole new way to do business. Our parents may have done their banking a different way. Communal's state-of-the-art online banking and international debit card allows members to do business with great ease. It's like literally having a branch in your very own hands. Need a loan? Apply online from the comfort of your own home anywhere in the world, and your request will be dealt with remotely. Want to transfer between your accounts or another shareholder? No wait time for transactions to update. Voila! Who needs receipts when you can receive them via e-statements on your mobile device and save the environment? Not a Communal member? You can join our family today by applying online. At Communal, we see you working hard to ensure that you save, invest, and grow. Communal. Join us today. This will be the best financial decision you have ever made.
Opio.com. Sale. All the outlets, hotspot outlets. You're going to go to the Carnage, the Grenville, or the Sutter's hotspot, and you get sales and deals on all items. You can get these on potato, you can get these on saltfish, onion, garlic, mackerel, toilet paper, and we even have the currants and the raisin at $10 per pound, lowest price island-wide. So people just come down or go up or go across, but just make sure and go to hotspots.
Reading is too hard. Reading school books is lame. I'd rather read about children like me and cool things. I can read, but sometimes I don't even know why I have to. It makes no sense.
Why can't we read about things we like?
Reading is the key to unlocking all learning and ensuring that children reach their potential. Here's what the children have to say.
Make reading fun.
Teach me how to read, but let me practice reading with things I like to read. Talk with me and read with me at least for a short time every day.
Let me tell you my own stories.
Read, learn, grow. The children are the future. Help them read, learn, grow. So parents, you play a part.
This message is brought to you by the OECS USAID Early Learners Program, funded by United States Agency for International Development.
Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance on the maple.
Welcome back, folks, and we are remembering Hurricane Janet. So I wanna go to the guys now. Scholar, I know you've been talking to a number of persons about the experiences regarding Janet in the St. Patrick area. Tell us a little bit of what you were able to pick up from some of these senior citizens.
All right. Well, Godfrey, from listening to Mr. Marshall, what is quite evident, I think, is that different parts of Grenada had different experience. As one goodly lady put it, Hurricane Janet, I think the eye might have passed somewhere between Carriacou and Sudet. And so around that area seemed to have, and on that western seaboard, seemed to have had it real tough, much tougher than St. George's. And she was saying that Janet was rough on that area. So when Ivan came, Ivan sort of exchange, and it was the time for tongue to start to feel pressure. Which was sort of ironic and sort of, something that made me laugh. But it seemed as though the experiences were different. I mean, straight out you hear from Mr. Marshall's episode. The day was nice, and then at 1:30, the headmaster rang the bell. Now that to me is consistent with all of the stories that we heard, that children went to school, which means that it was not like now. And somewhere in there that we are hoping that we can make comparisons between Ivan and Janet. So straight away you can tell that there was not this mechanism to forewarn people, and there was not this tracking thing as we have now. So people went to school, and based on what you heard, the headmaster, they don't even know how the headmaster knew it. Because up to now, Mr. Marshall didn't say how the headmaster knew that a hurricane, who told him, who spread the word, which is basically the same thing you hear from the other. All they know the headmaster called them. Because rain was drizzling light, but as they say, it was kind of like when John B. married him. Rain and the sun together. So it was nothing to really speak about, nothing ominous. But the headmaster called them and said, "Oh, you make all your way home. There will be something coming." And they left. So this to me is consistent with everything that we heard from all of the people that we spoke to. Mm-hmm. What is also clear is that it did not start as anything to be afraid of, anything to be scared of. It started gently, but it was not going away. And Mr. Marshall said that what was peculiar was when all of the plans, they showed their underbelly. I think in these days we are saying black and one, so and breadfruit and things on white. You know that there is some bad weather ahead. One person who we spoke to said that they knew that something was off because the breeze was blowing in the opposite direction to which it normally blows. And when the little rain was falling, usually the rain will run down. And I guess that is because of the direction the breeze is blowing the rain. But they saw that the rain was running up, which was something peculiar. So they knew that something was up, but they never knew the magnitude of what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Livingston, I know you did some interviews as well. You spoke to some people in Tivoli. What kind of feedback you picked up from them?
Godfrey, I would like to establish 3 bits of information, because I think really coming into I think those people refer to that storm. Coming into it, I think those 3 bits of information play a critical role. The first one was that during that time, there was a rapid movement across the world, meaning a lot of people going to Aruba, Panama, Trinidad, etc., and England in particular. That was actually what they call the Windrush era, going to England just after the Second World War. Also, people were coming home, and one of the a very important person that was heading to Grenada, coming from Aruba, was Mr. Eric Machugiri, also coming from Grenada. The second is about the condition under which people were living, and mainly looking at the houses. I heard Scholar mention about, hopefully we are going to be able to make a comparison. I don't know if this night would permit, but even though it would not, people were basically living in bamboo and roseau huts and buildings. The vast majority of people were living in that kind of condition. So when you're thinking about hurricane and you compare it to, let's say Ivan, compare to that alone is significant in you making that comparison. But they say bamboo is really strong. So for houses, you had the flooring was with bamboo, and in some houses the entire building, including the roof, was with bamboo. But we also had wattle. Now wattle was like when you twist the bamboo, and you use cold bamboo with teeth remote, and you then paste it, and it becomes almost like a concrete. There was a grass they used with that mix, and it used to call Poel Mueller Tway in order to solidify that. people had outside kitchen. Mr. Marshall said some of them had and some of them did not. But the outside kitchen was usually cotton flooring. You know, it used to be paste. So that was the kind of, and of course the roof was mainly acid bamboo or something with coconut straw or something, but mainly with cane straw. People use that. So that is how people were that the kind of houses people were living, most of the persons. The third information I want to put on the table is the industry. Most of it was like animals, lots of animals. Everybody had cow or cattle, mining. And then there was hardly banana, but it was mainly nutmeg, of course, cocoa, some citrus people had. And most of the people, concurring with Mr. Marshall, work on estates, but a few persons around the northern St. Andrew had farmland, particularly people after indentureship. They were given 5 acres of land to keep them in Grenada, and some of the families built on that. So you have the emergence of people from the Nikes and the Belmont estate, and some people out of Paraclete area having party again, and putting the nutmeg and so onto places like Grenville where they would have nutmeg pulled to sell. So I wanted to establish that those things, I believe that would come into play. I also, what I picked up from my research, and you have people like Mr. Liden Francis and Control, that they were my two main informants, saying that it started around 132, what the two earlier speakers said, and people were sent home from work in Grenville after 12, said they heard that the storm was coming. But nobody really had that good experience what a storm was, like how significant it was. So people, of course, some people were happy, they went home, but it started raining just after 1, lightly, and then it continued getting heavier. So I had that information where one of the informant was walking and then he had to go home. So he decided instead of going by his mom, he would go by his girlfriend. And then the rain keep on getting heavier, the wind keep on getting heavier, and as he said, mango branches were kissing the ground. So he get frightened and he decided, well, he might have to head home. But he had a young baby with a woman, so that kind of kept him. So they eventually moved to a new neighbor home. During that time, the river, the water level was just rising, and in the house it started flooding and reaching to the bed level. So they had to move to the next neighbor. And he described that he was so frightened, he was basically trembling. But he had some young fellas in that house, maybe around 6 of them, young Indian fellas. And he said they kicks in, they joking because we heavy and they're laughing. Is only when the roof start to disintegrate that they had to get rope and man start to swing and hold on to the roof, that those guys and them start taking the thing serious. But a very piece of pertinent information, he later picked up that there was a guy in Hermitage, they used to call him John Hush, big badger, and used to mash up all kind of dance and things. But on that occasion, John Hush was in the house with his family, and when John Hush roof left him and he realized, well, in the rain, he kneeled down and he said, oh God, oh Lord, I was never a customer. But today, Lord, I come before you. I am your customer. Please be your customer. so that gives you an indication of the fear. But I mean, in terms of animals lost and trees, because there were more trees then than now, roads were blocked all over the place, and people couldn't move from no place to the other because of the quantity of trees. The animals that get killed and washed to the rivers, etc., was a lot. So Janet itself wreaked serious havoc in our, and specifically in rural St. Andrew. I know we have some more, so
yes. So Reece, somebody must have told you something about Hurricane Janet.
The thing about
I'm coming to you, Mr. Marshall. Yeah, Reece, yeah.
I mostly got second-hand information. I did not get to speak to anyone who actually experienced it. The oldest person would have been like my father, who told me that when he was born, he weighed 15 pounds. He was an alarmingly large baby. And Janet happened like a year and a few days, 4 days after he was born. So he would have been a year old, and his sister who I think he said was about 8 years old, was the one who had to carry him through the storm. And he was such a heavy baby. It was like a real problem for her. So he has a lot of respect for her because of that, because he considered her as having saved his life. Mm-hmm. I heard a lot of secondhand stories of people, rivers busting their banks and people hanging onto roots of trees to be able to survive. A lot of devastation, crops, animals, a number of people would have died, homes lost. Guav is famous for houses going down in the river and stuff like that. So, you know, I mostly heard secondhand stories and didn't really get to speak to anyone who actually experienced the, you know, unfortunately my grandmother who would have been through it has passed. So all of them have passed. So I didn't get to speak to anybody. So I'm really learning quite a lot here, especially what happened in the rural areas, especially places like St. Andrews and St. Patrick. Yeah, so that's about it for me.
Right, Mr. Marshall, so we want to come back to you a bit. So the hurricane came and
went to that place of shelter. And we weathered the storm there. There was a big plum tree, Chinese plums. It fell on the roof, but thank God the roof wasn't broken. 2 sheets of galvanized sank into the house where we were. But what was characteristic, because right where I'm sitting now, I sat right here and weathered Ivan. What was interesting in Hurricane Janet? The winds roared, the thunder pealed, the lightning flashed, and the rain poured down. All the elements cooperated to give strength to that special storm, Janet. And I can remember in the middle of the Victoria Tongue, running from from east to west, is a street called Diamond Street. The river broke its bank and went straight down Diamond Street. The Anglican church was filled with mud. The pool, the Godfrey pool, the police station, even the Catholic church, mud. With crayfish, mullet, everything. And imagining, in Ivan, I start at my table. I did a few little things to reinforce itself through the louvers. It was the last louvers I had, and got inside with the power. But Ivan rooted. What is most interested? When the lull came, everybody in the house where I was sheltering believed or thought it was all over. It was a little after midnight to my mind. When something hold me and I had to run out to come back. Well, I nearly got caught in the Victoria pasture. Mommy bawling, where me child? I said, Mommy, I come back. And I came back. And then the wind started to blow from the opposite direction. So everybody who was outside observing damages, they flew back in their shelter. And I can tell you from my experience at the age of 12, and I wasn't a Duns boy in school, but very observant. The worst part of the storm was the second part of that storm. That's where most of the damage was done, in the St. Mark's area. Interestingly, when it was all over, maybe about 3, going to 4 in the morning, I could stay in Victoria and see Mount St. Catherine clear, as though somebody swept the hills. Some trees remained just pure skeleton, with almost no branches. You could hardly see a coconut tree still up. Dead animals all about. And Godfrey, what was most sad for me. Right on Diamond Street, that street that runs in the center of the town from east to west, I saw people crying. And there was a half-inch pipeline that moved across the road, crossed a little drain to go to somebody's house where people sheltered. And in bringing a child about 2 years old, the child fell from the one who was carrying her. And her feet stuck between the half-inch piping and the bottom, the guttering of the drain. And there she cried until she died. And nobody could have come out to help her. And even worse, didn't happen in Ivan. I saw a concrete house about 3 years old with 3 bedrooms. The roof collapsed and the walls of the house all crumbled. It wasn't a boathouse. To my mind, I can hardly understand. Some people said there were earthquakes too. I don't know about the earthquake, but I felt the storm. But the hillsides were naked. Dead animals everywhere. Bridges broken. And Godfrey, who crying. But that night I prayed so much, I thought God would have come down and help me. I called Mary's name about 1,000,000 times. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, help us, whoever. Thinking my innocence might bring some change. But it didn't. But I can tell you, I see no comparison between Janet and Ivan. Interestingly, what I noticed too, there were houses with tall gables. Those houses with tall gables withstood Janet more than those with low gables. And after Janet, something bad happened. People didn't pay attention to roof construction. A 6-inch piece of iron with a bowl long rafters didn't work. And then some roofs had a very low gable. And Janet not just Janet, but Ivan made use of that.
All right.
Thank you, Godfrey.
Okay, great. Skulls, just before you come in, I just want to take our final break. And when we come back, I'll come to you. And then we have an interview from a gentleman from St. David. We are going to run that. And we are going to listen carefully because, if I'm remembering, the stories are very, very similar. So let's take that final lottery break and we'll be back after that. Stay with us, folks. Don't go away.
Do your dreams seem far away from coming true? The National Lotteries Authority's Lotto Jackpot is $276,000. Fulfilling your plans can be just one ticket away. So play today. Lotto. Play and win a lot of money.
A pleasant evening to everyone. Welcome to the National Lotteries Authority's Lotto Draw number 3119 for today, Friday, September 25th, 2020. I am Anisha Charles. With me this evening is Ms. Priscilla Barry from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner, the game balls with industry standards and in a way tampered with. At this time, you should have tickets at hand because we are about to play for a jackpot of $276,000. But first, your free ticket letter. Good luck. This evening's free ticket letter is check your tickets. Your free ticket letter for this evening is M, as in money. Let's proceed for 5 winning numbers. Good luck. First up for this evening is check your tickets. First number up is 21. Second number. Second number is 5. Third number up. Third number is 14, followed by 17. Fifth and final number. Final number is 29. Your Let's recap those numbers. Check your tickets. First number up is 21. The second, 5. Third, 14. Followed by 17. Fifth and final is 29. So that's 2121, 055, 1414, 1717, and 2929. Your free ticket letter for this evening is M as in money. Congratulations to all the winners of this evening's Lotto draw. Lotto, play and win a lot. Ready play all the games of the National Lotteries Authority, support sports, culture, and the nation building. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful evening.
Get high making money moves with the NLA's new Aces High Scratch Game with 4 chances to win. Beat the dealer's card to win the prize shown. Reveal an A symbol. And just like that, you are automatically a winner. Scratch away to win the top prize of $10,000. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play. The countdown is on to win free groceries for 1 year with the food tier. Just a few more days left to shop for a chance to win up to $8,400 in groceries. Look out for the live grand draw on October 9th, 2020. Win free groceries for 12 months, free groceries for 6 months, or free groceries for 3 months. Promotion runs until September 30th, 2020. Terms and conditions apply.
Hills and Valley Med Care Center, located on Grenville Street, St. George's, has a highly professional team that gives excellent service in massage therapy, physiotherapy, speech therapy, medical consultation, and more. Hills and Valley Med Care Center sells a wide range of medical supplies, offers home visits for patients in Grenada and Carrier Crew, and opens Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. through to 7 p.m. Visit or call Hills and Valley Med Care Center today, 435-6904.
Reading is too hard. Reading school books is lame. I'd rather read about children like me and cool things. I can read, but sometimes I don't even know why I have to. It makes no sense. Why can't we read about things we like?
Reading is the key to unlocking all learning and ensuring that children reach their potential. Here's what the children have to say.
Make reading fun. Teach me how to read, but let me practice reading with things I like to read. Talk with me and read with me, at least for a short time every day. Let me tell you my own stories.
Read, learn, grow. The children are the future. Help them read, learn, grow. So parents, you play a part.
This message is brought to you by the OECS USAID Early Learners Program, funded by United States Agency for International Development.
The countdown is on to win free groceries for 1 year with the food tier. Just a few more days left to shop for a chance to win up to $8,400 in groceries. Look out for the live grand draw on October 9th, 2020. Win free groceries for 12 months, free groceries for 6 months, or free groceries for 3 months. Promotion runs until September 30th, 2020. Terms and conditions apply.
It's new, innovative and classy, and it cut above the rest. Your one-stop shop for bathtubs, kitchenette, customized doors and windows, and even a new paint job. We also sell quartz and solid surface countertops. At M&M Hardware, we offer best prices, excellent service, efficiency, and reliability. Visit us at Dusty Highway, Grandin, St. George, or call telephone number 440-6757. M&M Hardware, from foundation to roof. Let's build together.
Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance round the maypole.
Welcome back, folks. It's OUI Culture, in case you're just joining us. And we're remembering Hurricane Janet. Now, we've heard some experiences thus far. We also spoke to a gentleman in St. David, and he shared his experience with us. We did a recorded video, and so we are going to share that with you. It's not a very long, pretty short, and after that, we'll continue to talk some more. So let me ask my producer to bring up that video so we can listen to the experience of someone who lived in the, as a matter of fact, it was Apretut in St. David, about their experience. So, Mr. Producer, can you bring up that first, please?
My name is Cosnell Charles from Belle Isle. Belle Isle in St. David. I was 12 years old when Hurricane Janet devastated Grenada. And that was a day we could never forget. Those of us who could remember, we never forget. But I was at school in Pomerode. Yeah. When the headmaster of the school announced that there will be a hurricane, so everybody should make sure that go to their home. Make it as fast as you can. Then we left, me and my two brothers, left the school and run fast as we could to get to our home, because where we had to go, we had a bridge, we must pass on the bridge to go to our home. So when we approached the bridge, we saw that the water was almost overflowing the bridge already. So we tried to run across. So when we crossed there and we got to the next side, we stood up and watched the water coming down and overflow the bridge. While we're there, we heard a voice calling, and when we watch, we see our father. When I say our father, I mean my father. Yeah. He said he's coming to look for us because he understands that there's a hurricane outside. Then we left with him. We went up home. We went inside, and from inside we never come out again until the next morning, because there was heavy rain and wind, thunder, lightning. And where we was living, we had plenty nutmeg trees and things around. So while we're inside, we hear a loud noise. One of the nutmeg trees fall on top of the house. But we couldn't come outside, but my uncle and my auntie were living in one yard like. So when morning came, we heard a voice asking, "Hey, hello, hello, everyone is there?" And we answered, we say yes. But what they had to do was to help cut the branches, because the branches on them were blocking the door, so we couldn't come outside. So they outside now, they could have cut the branches and things, you know, for we to come outside. So when we came outside, we met together and we started cleaning up around the house and things. And then from there, we left and we went down to the other neighbors and them, because the whole place was covered up with trees and things, the whole road blocked up. So we joined together, young and old joined together and helped clear the road. Some with coconut brand, you know, when the coconut come out from the grab, you take in that and like a broom to sweep the road. Some with axe, you remember what they call an axe? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some with axe, who would have cutters, they have axe. Clearing the road and throwing it as far as you could from the road. Yeah, and that day we had a good time together. Yeah, plenty coconut on the ground, breadfruit on the ground. So we start drinking jelly and things. Who take coconut and go home, jelly and go home, breadfruit and go home. Everybody had a nice time. After that, we went down to Pomerode direction, because we couldn't do everything in one day. We went down to Pomerode direction, clearing the road, you know, for people to pass, because I didn't have plenty of vehicles as how we have now. I think it was 2 persons who had vehicle up that way. So we cleared the road as much as we can, so everybody could have passed through freely. Yeah. Then from Pomerode we went up to Apretut. We had that, you know, as a walk during that day, clearing the road for everybody to pass to and fro. Yes, a lot of houses fell. A lot of houses fell. And some trees fell, some stood up. But those that stood up didn't have branches on them. They didn't have branches on them. Yeah.
What about deaths?
No. We didn't have any death of that way. No. We didn't have death of that at all. Yeah. But then after months after, I think, those who lost their house, the premier was that time was Eric Matthew Geary. Yeah, at that time it was Eric Matthew Geary. So some people came around, you know, asking who lost the house and things. So they take down the name and everybody who lost the house. And sometime after, somebody came and tell them that they have to get a house. So who lost the house, they gave them one. Yeah. And all now are seeing some of the houses up. If you go down and reach on the cliff, and if you leave the junction there, you watch on the right hand side on top there, you see that old Janet house there. Then you have one up in Pedmota by Alexis place up there. Yeah. You have some of them up. I went in a funeral Tuesday gone up in River Sally, and I saw one, yeah. Ivan passed on me today, Ivan don't do nothing to it. In my area, where he was living up there, well, everybody just like one, you understand? You come to my home, you get food, you eat. I go to your home, I get food, you eat. That was a love between everybody in that area of there. Yeah. We didn't have no confusion like one fighting against the other and things. We didn't have no enemy. I come by your home, dark night, take me there, I could sleep by you. You come by my home, dark night, take you there, you sleep by me, and you go the next morning. Yeah. So it used to be up that way. During that time, I think, I don't know who brought these banana plants to show to the farmers. Some farmers got, and they was glad because with the cultivation they had, when the nutmeg was, they couldn't plant nothing. But as the nutmeg fell now, they could have get place to plant. Yeah. So we had a big cultivation in banana with many people. Yeah. And after this, we had plenty pumpkin. I don't know where the pumpkin seed came from. Plenty pumpkin. Everybody land have pumpkin. And we could have get food from that after. Yeah.
So there wasn't a major problem for food after that?
No problem for food. Yeah. Because of that area, plenty breadfruit, I tell you, plenty breadfruit and coconut. People planting dashing, tanya, all kind of yam and things. So my father used to, when he go in the garden and he bring provision, he share it for the neighbors around. So they used to be. Yeah. So in those days, was real love among the people out there. It's only the day the hurricane took place, we knew that there would be a hurricane. Yeah, but we didn't know anything before that hurricane coming also. They said we knew that there will be a hurricane. So the headmaster asked us to make it to our home as fast as we can. So we left and we went. Yes, we was in the school when the rain started. So the headmaster told us, make it as fast as we can to get to our home. So we do our best. When we reached Apple Tree Bridge, as I said, we saw the water just start to come down to overflow the bridge. So we run across quickly. And then we stood on the next side and watching the water. They were feeling relaxed, like, because not knowing there will be a hurricane, and it came. So they just relaxed. Yeah. They accept whatever comes to them. Yeah. I feel Ivan was the worst, eh? Ivan was the worst. Because I noticed in Ivan time, people have the appliances in the house. They miss it. For days they missing their appliances. Whether table, chairs, whatever they have in the house, radio, all things they have in the house, they miss it. When they go to the bushes, they get in all this thing in the bush. Yeah, they used to get all this thing in the bush. Because I don't know if it's who raised it and bring it in the bush, or the wind what raised it and bring it in the bush. I don't know, but we get a lot of things from your house in the bush. Days after. But I find Ivan was Divorce. When I watch outside the morning after Ivan, I say, no, here is next Grenada. Yeah, because outside was also looking far different. Yeah, we stay here and we could have seen almost in Formose, right up in Formose, we could have seen in Formose. Ivan had more wind and more water. Yeah, plenty more wind and water. Because I went up in a mountain with a man named Bulin, and he has some land up there. Big trees, Big trees, I tell you. The wind root up the trees and them with big mole, big as the shop, big mole, root up the trees and them. But that didn't happen in Janet. You only break the trees, some trees fell, some stood up. But in Ivan time, we root up the trees, yeah, with big mole in it. But it was different in Ivan to Hurricane Janet. Boat house. No blocks are like that. Only boat house. Our house was a boat house. We had a gallery. Remember? You were right. Our house had a gallery on it. And we had plenty of other people's house had gallery. Some have a hall and a room. Yeah, some had 2 rooms and a hall. But it was boat house. Everybody boat house during that time.
Okay, folks. So you heard a bit there about the experience in one part of St. David, and Scholar, Mr. Marshall had shared with us his experience, and as we listen to Mr. Charles, what do you guys make of what actually happened then? Because I mean, we're talking about 2 areas miles apart.
Yeah, and it's the same thing that I'm saying. The experiences were totally different. Similar, but different. And I understand why it is that if you hear the gentleman, and if you is still playing Godfrey?
No, it's not.
I'm hearing something.
I'm not sure.
All right, good. But if you listen to the gentleman is saying straight out that Ivan was worse than
some kind of feedback.
There's something happening.
Yes, I'm not sure where that feedback is coming from. All right. Are you still getting the feedback?
Yes.
Yes.
And to me, it's the same gentleman not speaking.
I'm not sure what is happening here. Let me just take a short break and let me have that rectified, and I'll be back in just a minute.
You know, there's really this subculture.
Telemedicine, teleworking, artificial intelligence, automation, fewer jobs or no jobs at all are our new norm. Truth is, disruption is here. How do we in society adapt to agile ways of working and creating new skills, new jobs, new industries? Let us chat about what we do, where and how we work at our 3rd Caribbean Economic Forum. Our topic, the future of work is here. Our international panel includes Dr. Carmen Pages-Serra, Chief Labor Markets Division, the Inter-American Development Bank, Wayne Chen, President, Caribbean Employers Confederation, and Dr. Rochelle Haynes, International Human Resource Management Specialist and gig HR expert. Let us talk about how we get people back to work in our August Caribbean Economic Forum.
Caribbean Economic Forum, this Sunday at 5 p.m. on GBN television channels 7 and 11. GBN, keeping you informed with global issues, anywhere and everywhere.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance from the maypole.
Okay, folks. So we back. Mr. Marshall, you probably need to turn your audio down a little bit. I think the feedback is coming from that direction that we're getting. Mr. Marshall, are you there with us? Mr. Marshall, are you there with us? All right. So, Scholar, we were talking earlier about making the comparison. Let's see if we can get it going.
All right. When you listen to the gentleman, what is clear is that he's saying basically that Ivan was worse than Janet. And I think this happens based on where you're from and which part of the country you're from. And I think I would have crystallized that earlier on when I said that the ladies from St. Patrick's would have said that Janet was bad in St. Patrick's and those areas, St. Mark's and so on. Ivan was a breeze. As a matter of fact, in a lot of places in St. Patrick's and St. Mark's and those places, they believe that Emily was worse than Ivan. And we know when it comes to hurricane, if Ivan was a elephant, Emily was a little sandfly.
Yes, indeed.
In terms of experience, but it's just about where you are from. But there is a few things that they would have said that I wanted to capitalize on, really, and to speak a bit more. Because the stories that I got, I mean, I didn't just want to just give out one book like that. But we spoke to two ladies in Sauté. Miss Shirley Robinson, the cultural icon, the cultural great, and we also spoke to a 90-year-old youth called Miss Rush. She is the neighbor of Miss Robinson, and their stories on Janet was so grand. I mean that it was out of this world experience. To me, they see a lot of trouble at night. So their experience, they remembered around, let's say, 8, 9-ish. Now Miss Rush was living. She didn't want to stay in her home because she didn't think that her house would manage. So she went by Miss Robbie. When she going by Mr. Robbie, she meet Mr. Robbie and them go in. But into Mr. Robbie, they run into the rock. And the rock running for yourself.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, so they went somewhere else. And Miss Rush remembers Lisa Galvanite. Speaking her door, as she was going inside, right by her face, right? She said just a few inches against the left, and she would have been deceased, really. And so they kept moving that night until they ended up in some place where the structure was good, but the roof couldn't withstand, so the roof came out. So they spent about 9 hours in water that night, right? What is also clear from this is the fact that the hurricane occurred in Coupon, and we heard that from Mr. Marshall, and they also coincided with what they said. So when the eye came, it was a camp, and people went outside. There is a story, for example, in Chantimel. Man, I sing a song, City Side. Right. And my old man would have told me that City Side was a knowledgeable man during those times. City Side almost made them kill them, because City Side was this kind of road man at that time. When the eye was passing, the City Side tell himself, well, that is it, hurricane done. So he tell everybody, well, come on with the cutlass and so on, come and clear trees and whatnot. And then when the backlash come, next side come, everybody forget tree and cutlass and they run for cover, right? There was a house that also the ladies would have spoken about. And this story is actually folklore in St. Patrick's. There was a house that washed out with about 11 or so people in it called Grey Bunnies. They said there was this person who was there. And you had 2 other people who came to shelter because they came out during the eye, and the eye hold them. So they went to shelter in that house. One of the gentlemen said to them, please, the river will take you out and go. But they said, nah, they're moving because they have to protect the iron chief. So they're moving, right? And he decided, nah, he ain't staying, so he go. And lo and behold, the river came and took the house. Everybody in it died except that 2 gentlemen. One of whom was father of this guy, Ali Matura. Based on their story, the river rose so high and it took him up. And when the river was flowing down with him, he saw a branch. So he grabbed hold onto the branch and he pulled for dear life. Little did he know that where he was holding was actually the top of a breadfruit tree, which tells you how high the water had risen, right? One other thing, Godfrey, this is also folklore in my area. You know, Mr. Marshall and him speak about the prayer and the prayer and the prayer and the prayer. I understand that there was a house, a shop, really, that was sturdy. So most people from my village would have gone to shelter there. And the owner of the shop, when people go inside to shelter, women start to pray and all kind of thing. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. And he tell them, shut up! A little praying there, no, Lord, not. The Lord is not your shepherd. The guy the Lord was your shepherd. You know make hurricane come. Shut up, you know, outside. Woman have to hush. Oops. They can't pray inside there because they have to stay inside. They want to stay inside, but if you pray, you put it outside. And that again was folklore.
Very, very interesting. Livingston, you back with us? Right. Livingston, are you hearing me clearly? Are you hearing me, Livingston? All right, apparently he's not hearing us. I actually I had a discussion with my uncle as well. At the time, You hearing me now? All right.
Yeah, apparently had some technical difficulties.
All right. I was just sharing, a bit of experience that my uncle shared with me today, actually. Of course, in Tivoli, he was in school at the time, and similar to what most people said, they were all in school. And of course, the principal, the headmaster, asked everyone to go home. And he said to me at the time, well, my mom was very young. He was the bigger one. And just next door, where my granddad lived, her daughter was only 3 days old. So my uncle, well, my grandmother asked him to go over to the house and bring them over. And he said as soon as he took them out of the house to come over to my grandmother, the house practically exploded. So after he brought them in, things started to get worse. And then my grandmother asked him again, look, take them together with the other children and bring them up by, well, Livingston, you know Mr. Elmo.
Yes.
So he took everybody up to Mr. Elmo except my mom and my grandmother, who remained in the house. And he took them up there. I mean, wind, rain, everything. When he came back, the house was upside down. So the roof was on the ground, and of course the flooring in the air. But they had to battle it out, and it was a real terrible experience. There was another lady I spoke to, and she said at the time, and similar to what Livingston said, they were living in bamboo houses.
Yes.
So a lot of the experiences was similar. But one thing that stood out for me with the people I spoke to, it appears to me that there was a lot more rain in Janet than Ivan.
But Godfrey, that is true. But also, Mr. Marshall made a very pertinent point when he made mention that the water table was much higher.
Yes.
So we growing up, remember just behind Miss Lara the Ramlini place, they had a small drain. As little boys, we used to hold crayfish. They had to go.
Yes.
Right. So there was more water all over than what is happening now. But also, one of my informants indicated that the first time they ever saw, and the only time, the river overflowed Paradise Bridge, which is right now today over, I would say, almost 100 feet high. The only time was during Hurricane Janet. I mean, we have seen water in the road, but seriously flowing heavily over the bridge itself. In my lifetime, I've never experienced it, but during Janet, it actually happened. So that was the thing. Something that also that I found quite interesting, apart from the damages, is the prices of goods and the role that the response. So I guess we're still in Hurricane, we're still in Janet, and I don't know if you want to move into the response immediately after Janet, but example, one of the two prices that stood out was that a tin of corned beef, what we used to call target corned beef, was 5 cents for one corned beef, and saltfish itself was 3 cents a pound. While nutmeg, which was the mainstay, was halfpenny fatin. I mean, half halfpenny was for a pound of nutmeg. So that gives you an idea of how people was living. But again, a similar thing immediately after Janet, the prices of goods rose. Things got a little bit more expensive, and the immediate response of some farmers, the Ministry of Agriculture, Eric Machigiri, as I mentioned, that was on the scene then, was that people ran immediately back into the farm. Extension officers, people like Hugh Noel and Mahan and Monk Rush, Ned Hannibal, extension workers roll up the sleeve and immediately went to prop up nutmeg, because nutmeg was one of the mainstay at that time. So people went back immediately, I mean, I think later on the Janet houses, I guess we might get into, and the increase of pay, the seizure of estates. All this took place immediately after Janet. But the destruction, it's hard, at a certain scholar point of view, based on where you live in the island, you experience it differently. And I think so. So I don't know the actual statistic, which one had greater windfalls. But I know in terms of the number of trees, because there were more trees, Janet actually threw down more trees because there were more trees during that time. And more destruction to agriculture because there was more nutmeg. I don't think we ever reached that level since then. But so I really, for me, I don't know if the verdict, what is the verdict? If you or a scholar did any research as to compare the wind speed of Ivan as compared to Janet.
Well, what I know, when Janet struck Grenada, it was a category 3. When Ivan hit, it was a category 4, I think it was. So from all indications, Ivan, was a much bigger and more powerful storm than Janet.
That is what some of the farmers are saying to me also, that Ivan was stronger.
But scholar, there was something that was very, very unique when we spoke to one of the ladies in St. Patrick, and it had us cracking up because after the hurricane had passed, and people needed assistance, so they were given materials and scholar, you better tell the story. That's a St. Patrick story.
And Godfrey, it sort of shows how far we have come.
Well, we haven't
not moved anywhere.
We have not moved.
Not anywhere. we still where we are, and where we were. And I was surprised that and Godfrey Livingston is speaking about the aftermath and what happened then. And I was surprised because based on the story, there was this whole thing, just as Ivan, people were helped to build back, right? The premier and them, they gave people material and so on to build back homes. But the lady, based on her recount and her recall, her house was, she called the feet 28 feet by,
36 by 48.
36 by 48, so that was a right size house.
Yes.
She lost her house.
That was a large house.
Yes, it was a large house.
She lost her house, right? And they don't give her a piece of material. And not a piece of material. Instead of that, people who didn't even have a house, people who don't lose nothing, and how much power and how much thing to build a house. Actually, and it's flood up below down there. I need my house below down there. Until when she cut bad and she got that, and in the ending they give us
7 sheet of thing. But you know what really got me, what got me cracking up was the way she expressed it. She said, man, yeah, a lot of corruption in the thing, man, a lot of corruption. And it dawned on me, but wait a minute. Corruption has been around forever. Because
you know, Godfrey, I spoke to actually 5 elderly persons. And 4, I did ask that question directly about the way house. And 4 of them actually emphatically said to me that Uncle said every Grenadian should get, that deserve a house should get a house. And then he was very strict on that there was nobody, but you didn't have no party. Everybody that was deserving a house had to get a house. So, Scholar, my informant tell me differently, but again, I believe what you're saying, I believe what happened. So I guess it's in there a while now.
Definitely.
You informant maybe was one of them.
maybe you are sharing.
Yeah, the informant was a sharer.
I tell you what, guys. Our telephone line has been going forever. So let's see who we have with us, and engage them in some conversation. We Culture, good evening.
Hello, good night. This is Paradise.
All right.
Yes, I Livingston say here in Janet time the river come through the bridge. Yes, it's true, because he take a house right by where the boy have the garage by Progress Park there now. And he bring that house right down in Zabuko. In Janet time, he had a lady in the roof. They call her Miss Mararan. She stay in the roof until daylight. People have to come get out. That down by Progress Park there. But after that, the river pass in Progress Park there a lot of times after that. It passed in Emily time. I don't believe he passed in Ivan. I think he passed in Emily time because Emily had more water and Ivan had more wind. And then he passed at time we come out in something in the cinema, rain. When we reached by Progress Park, the river was in the road. And then you have something the other year again when the rain fall for a lot of years. The water coming back to where they had the preschool day. And the water was like 12 feet away from the top of the bridge. Almost to the road by we are planting the peas there. So many times the river cross the road and go through and take all Danny pumpkin below your house and do what he wants. This river does what he wants when he ready too much, you know. I don't know how this boy sleeping down by that garage. Them does really take chance. So I don't have much experience about Ivan. What I hear about the house in Zabico is what my grandmother and my mother and them used to talk about. And my mother had a child a few weeks before Janet, and had to put it below table and all these things and them. And I never wanted to experience a hurricane, you know. Because every time they say hurricane coming, I used to going in shelter now about 3 days before the hurricane come. So I was going to my sister's house by that of day. So when Ivan come now, we stand in the veranda outside and we watching how Ivan just pelting galvanized, pelting coconut tree, all kind of thing outside there. But to tell you why after Ivan, what? People that are open a supermarket, and you see I living in the junction, they buy so are getting goods. So are getting things. But if I the greedy, I would have sell, but I give them away because everybody is hungry.
All right, thanks a lot. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, let's go back to the telephone again. We Culture, good evening.
We Culture, gentlemen. I wasn't at the age of Ivan, but I live in the area of in St. Patrick in Mali's area. Along by coming inside Mali's coming into La Bachun area. But people who were damaged in the shop at the time, in the Raybon shop in Mali's Junction, that was the Raybon shop, and Yankuna. That the man when a little boy going up a rum drinker, and he was the one tell them that the river coming down, gentlemen, let's move from there. He said, no, we're safe here. So he left and go. And them stay, and all the others washed away the whole shop mashed up, everything gone. And Mr. Nicky and Mr. Armstrong and them, I think only two had survived from the hurricane. As Colin mentioned earlier, somebody gave me a story. Was Mr. Nicky and Mr. Armstrong who come to rescue and stay alive. But otherwise, so Janet's house was the king, and then the guy born at Janet's house. Yeah, I born there because my grandfather had a big house and he mashed up to the storm. When I born in 53, in the time gone before, I born in a small house in any case, you know. But Janet was a terrible storm in any case. My trees didn't get damaged, and a lot of people lost the animals and the crops and things and whatnot in any case. You know. But when I check out Ivan, Mr. Man, been in St. George's for a while in 2004, watch Ivan. And here about Janet. Ivan was a deadly storm. Ivan had tornado, we didn't make it a little bit. Ivan had some tornado pass, boss man. What I saw with my eyes on them in the evening, I see yachts on the yachts, so I fly up the road with no engine, no sail. Mango branch and flying in the air. Tree, on a rooftop, from Padak area, the boss man tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks a lot indeed. Yes. All right, 435-2041. Let's see you with us again. We Culture, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Godfrey?
Yes,
I found the difficulties, man. I mean, audio went and everything, man.
Oh, okay.
But watch now. I saw a number of JVites furnished with all type of building materials, from galvanized to lumber to nails. Some who never had house. They had enough materials and they built houses during the time of Gavey, E.M. Gavey. I remember that very well. Okay? Then afterwards, we got some Green Heart, pre-cut houses. Some people said it came from Guyana. I don't know. I never checked into the verity of it. Okay? So I know that these were better distributed, but the raw materials for house building, the areas made the best use of it. Okay? And I can tell you too, the Hurricane Janet that I knew, when I looked at the mountain and the surrounding forest, they were almost flattened. After this last one, Ivan, I didn't see this kind of destruction in the vegetation. Okay? And the things I saw Janet did, I didn't see. To my mind, Ivan was more a roof remover. A roof remover. You understand? And it's after Ivan, people began to take special precaution in the construction of house roofs. Okay? But I'm still waiting, Janet, far in front of Ivan, based on my experience.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thanks a lot indeed. Yes, yes. Guys, you listen to all these different accounts. And as Mr. Marshall is saying that he feels that Janet was worse. In terms of the crops and the destruction, we know nutmegs, for example, their roots are not very deep into the ground, so the likelihood of wind toppling them over is a lot more than some of the hardwood trees we are seeing now. We heard the gentleman from St. David say that during Ivan, trees were actually uprooted. And again, is an indication how strong the wind was during Hurricane Ivan as compared to Janet.
Yeah, but Godfrey, you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, one of the things with nutmeg, if you make a comparison that the nutmeg wood, the nutmeg the branch itself is much sturdier and stronger than, say, like a golden apple or like a plum. But the golden apple would survive better in a hurricane than a nutmeg. The nutmeg trees, because of its foliage, thick leaves, it does not yield. It don't let go the leaves easily. So it stand up there, they also stand up there and take the weight of the river. So the nutmeg tree does not yield. So the nutmeg tree is steady and it takes all the breeze and it does not, so it takes the full weight of the wind. Unlike the golden apple tree, golden apple tree smell the wind coming, it's starting to let go all the leaves, so the wind passes through easily. That is why in some cases, like a goat pen that loosely made may stand up, but a house that seems solid may fall during a hurricane. So I think the nutmeg is not just the root, but it's the structure of the upper leaves that thing. Also, you have to bear in mind that there were bigger trees, there were more trees in Grenada during Janet than in Ivan. So the wind come with its full force. I believe that there were more destruction, more trees destruction during that time. That time, by now, after Ivan, we have done a lot of clearing to build houses, open playing field, etc., which was not much in existence during that time. So there was a lot of place for the wind to move in Ivan. But Janet, it was probably more heavier foliage ingredient.
You're gonna Livingston, there's an next way you can look at it. If there were more trees, then you can't take it in terms of the quantum of trees that fell, but you have to take it in terms of the percentage of trees that fell. Right? Well, and I don't know. I mean, I did not see Janet. I take my sense from what, and it really passed. It was rough in St. Patrick's, I know that. And I take my sense from what they're saying. But I never had the impression, got the impression really, that Janet was a big wind event.
No, it wasn't.
The impression I get all the time is that it was a rain event.
Yes, yes.
You hear about a lot of rivers what take people. In fact, most of the people who died, when you listen to the stories, the river and thing and ravine and thing like that, but
yes. Yes.
Right?
We're on the same page with that.
Say it again.
I say we're on the same page with that. I think, it's more water, that the destruction with Janet was more water than wind.
Yes, yes, indeed. Let's go back to the telephone again and see who's with us. We Culture, good evening.
Good afternoon, Godfrey.
Yes, go ahead, please, caller.
Yeah, you there?
Yes, I'm here, go ahead.
Yeah, I just talking about Janet and Ivan. For first thing, Janet and Ivan was two different hurricanes. Janet had a lot of water, which Ivan didn't have. Ivan had a lot of wind. And I remember I was 11 years old in Janet time, going to school in Methodist School in Grenville. And the message come from the police station to the school. All train must evacuate and go home. Mr. Strong was the headmaster. Everybody went home, and about 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the evening time, the rain started coming, and that was it. Rain. Never stop until maybe, and the difference with Ivan was, Ivan lasted about 3 or 4 hours. I'm living in St. David now, I'll tell you that. But Janet lasted all night till about 4 in the morning. And I remember after Janet, he was staying home and see Maryville Hospital. Clear so is 20 feet away. And that's I was living opposite the cemetery at the time, Granville Cemetery. And it was terrible. I remember everything of it, everything. But Ivan was the killer. Ivan just come for everything. Everything you get in the party, he'll take it away. But I won't like to experience in the two hurricanes. I'll prefer Janet and Ivan. Because if I had lost as long as Janet, Grenada would have been wiped out, completely wiped out. It wouldn't even be as on the map. It'd have been out. So praise God, it was like that. Anyway, have a good night.
Thank you very much indeed, caller. Now, gentlemen, I want to ask you guys something. The thought just crossed my mind as it relates to Janet having a lot more water as compared to Ivan having a lot more wind. Could it be that because Ivan had so much strong winds, we did not actually feel the impact of the water?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Ivan had a lot of water at all. He had, but not as much as what you'd hear them. Because from my research, Janet poured about 15 inches of water in 9 hours. That to me is phenomenal. I mean,
yes.
You know, hear about this kind of thing, right? So I don't know. I mean, as I said, I never witnessed Janet, so I'm taking it. But I think one of it, and this guy is making a very interesting point, that Ivan was a shorter event.
Yes, it was.
It was as long as with eye and all this kind of thing. Because I can't remember eye, and I can't even remember eyebrow in Ivan.
Well, you're in St. Patrick, huh?
No. I was here. I was in St. Andrews.
Okay.
I was in St. Andrews. I can remember eyelash, fella's eye, and then on top of all of that, Godfrey, you have to remember that Ivan passed in the day.
Yes,
and Janet
that's true.
Passed in the night.
Yes,
so if
that's
Ivan
true.
had passed in the night, just as Janet, for 9 hours, just as Janet, I mean, we might have been speaking a different story.
Because I did recall the ladies in St. Patrick saying to us that when they went down to that other place and the roof left the house, they stayed in the water there all night.
All night.
Yes.
For 9 hours.
Yeah,
right?
all night.
They stayed in the water there. And the ironic thing is that where they left from to go and see trouble, when morning came,
and
they left from stand up good, you know, not no wind to interfere in it. So they leave good house and they go and see trouble.
Yes.
Well, there are people who experienced Ivan, and you know the experience is similar. They left their home safely to go to shelter, And when they got back, their home was safe, and they had to run from shelter. Yeah. But I want to add that something that struck me is when Mr. Franklin, I believe, he mentioned on 2 occasions about the water table having been much higher at the time. And I want to believe that climate change has a lot to do with this, because if we look at our rivers today, I mean, they are pretty much dried up in a lot of instances. They're like little streams within creeks, within what we call rivers, sort of thing. So I want to believe that even if we had the rains during Ivan, it probably may not have been as wet, as devastating, you know, as Janet would have been. I also get that the level of vulnerability within, especially the rural areas during Janet, would have been so much higher. And I'm not saying that we are not vulnerable right now. We do have that, but it seems like, you know, it was, as I said, they lived in bamboo houses, and, you know, I mean, for most of them, it would have been a first-time experience in a hurricane, you know, a storm. I'm betting that with the type of communication it had, which I found was just amazing and intimate, that level of communication, it is quite possible that some people may not have even gotten the messages. But I really like that. I really like that the police had the whistle, and the fishermen had the conch shell, and the tongue cry. Yes. The tongue cry, and how theatric they were about it. I mean, I could just envision, you know, how cozy and, you know, how closely linked the communities were using these forms of communication.
Indeed.
Hold on, Livingston. Let me just say that quick, before you get on. Reece, I agree to the highest river you will find right now in Greater, they now battle you.
Well, that's if the bottle full. usually that river water will be empty, so he doesn't stay full for long.
Bye, Livingston. Forget about that.
You almost make me forget what I have to say. Let me say, Reece was making mention that maybe the level of communication, because community was close-knitted, almost anything one person here, it spread like wildfire, probably as good or as effective, information like that, as effective as probably if you have a radio in today's time, you know, because of the closeness. A next observation I got from one of my informants is that there was no looting.
Well, we had nothing to loot that time.
During and after Ivan.
When you hear the prices of things, mostly things were battered.
Yes.
When you hear
most goods were battered. Yes, most goods were battered.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 5 cents. But apart from that, I mean, after Ivan, people rely. Janet. People rely a lot on what they had around. As Mr. Marshall mentioned, dead animals. So some people retrieve that and use it. But there was a lot of animals that were still safe. A lot of bananas that fell, but breadfruit, coconut, everything was around, and people used that, you know, still. But there was no TV to go and get from, no big store, no, you know, no machine. People, so there was no looting. Everybody went on.
Pretty larceny didn't even exist.
Right. And folks, when Reece say pretty larceny, what you mean? People into thief. Just so that
man, he had old teeth.
He had some old teeth.
But there's a thief foul, man. Foul is a thief.
Well,
let me tell you, though, just as an aside, when they thief you foul and they cook it, they bring in food for you, you know.
Well, of course.
One other thing, pre-Janet, when I asked about the market, going and selling, the market was not as developed. People used to still go at the bay, like in Grenville, and sell the canned sprat, canned jacks, canned fish, etc. But it's like the trading in goods, like who would buy an orange? Who would buy a bunch of banana? Who would buy, you know? Some people, of course, there were some people selling, but in terms of the turnover for those things, and then it was very, very few because Grenada had a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, and people just battered rather than go to a central place like a market. But what would you sell in the market?
Well, in fact, Scholar, you recall the gentleman from St. David. He said to us that people from Corinth, as a matter of fact, people would get up early in the morning, walk from Corinth to St. George's, to go and make whatever little market they had and walk back up, because there were only 2 buses, and those buses were for the, you know, upper to middle class people. So yes, there were, I mean, it was, that's the way things. I recall also like my grandparents saying to me, and Livingston, you probably may remember, people used to walk down the bay in La Poterie and go down to Grenville.
Well, that was the part. No, yes. Come up to people. Yeah, that was the part.
Godfrey, one thing that struck me. The gentleman from St. David's, Mr. Charles.
Yeah, Cosmo Charles. Yes.
Right. Charles said that he didn't know what happened, and this is something that I've heard before. But after Janet, pumpkin run amok.
He didn't know where they came from.
Pumpkin come out, they don't know who planted the pumpkin, but everywhere you turned was pumpkin. And it seems as though pumpkin is something that thrives when there are problems and situations like that in Grenada. Because I can remember October 25th, 1983. After that period, all about those pumpkin, I could remember that vividly. You ain't planting pumpkin, you don't know where the pumpkin coming up.
But remember, Scott, I mean, I wouldn't worry about that too much because, you know, I think that we were told also that, was it the lighthouse in Carrick who ended up, was in Grenada?
Oh, yeah.
Doing Janet?
Well, some people say that the signboard in,
from the airport. Right.
Ended up in Carrick.
Yes. Godfrey, I wanted to interrupt a bit because, you know, we've forgotten our online viewers again.
Right.
You know, and Ernesto Jose is giving some really good feedback here.
Right, let's hear him.
He said that, you know, he was asking, did you ever hear that the wind blew the airport sign to Carriacou from Paul's? And that is what Scholar just mentioned there. He's also wondering why the big trucks at Public Works was called Janet trucks. You know, he's wondering if any one of us can explain that.
You came in after Janet.
Who wants you to know that if you have to come back to St. Patrick's, you have to get a pass for entry. I don't get that kind of feedback from Gulf people, so I don't know what's happening to you, Scholar, but it seems like you need a pass.
That man not saying that they ought need the pass, you know, because he do it in St. Patrick's. That man had to ride plane to come in St. Patrick's.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Janet trucks.
Yeah, the Janet truck. Well, no, these things, the Janet truck, the Janet houses, these were things that came after, you know, and so people just sort of name them after, you know. Yeah. Definitely. So. Yes, indeed. But I mean, some of the experiences we've heard about, I mean, they were really phenomenal. As a matter of fact, we have a lot more to share with people, and we have some more recordings that we would share, of course, next week. We will continue because we also want to take a deeper look into Ivan and some aspects of the political atmosphere then, because it was right after that when Eric Gary started to make his impact in Grenada, and we got some stories about it as well. So we would continue next week. In fact, fellas, it is way past 10, so we actually out of time already. So yes, you know, the experiences were really great, and we are going to continue to share next week with the people some of those experiences. So guys, let me give you all a few minutes just to make some closing remarks and allow you guys to go to bed.
Well, let me start off, Godfrey, by saying that the whole Janet experience, when I did the research, I saw on YouTube some videos, but it was based on the experience in Barbados.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
There was no great chronicling of experience except for one or two little things in a book, or one or two little interviews, as the case may be. And it just shows how, because when you look at the experience of Janet in Grenada as opposed to Barbados, and you listen to the experience, ours were about 3 or 4 times worse.
Yes.
Because in speaking to one of the ladies, she told me straight off the bat, 120, how much? 29 people
Yes,
or so
yes,
died
yes.
during Janet. Barbados records about 30 something, and so on. And this is why what we're doing here is so important. And as you said, Godfrey, and I'll take you up on that, as we do interviews, we need to maybe do some form of documentary on the whole Janet experience.
Definitely. We will be compiling.
Right, and hear this thing, instead of these people who are now in their 70s and 80s and so on, Mr. Marshall and so on, when they go with all their experiences in their head. And I look forward to next week, because Ivan will be a very interesting one, really. And of course, we will have to kind of zero in and drill down also on how it, the culture, how it engendered cultural changes, really. Because we know for a fact, as I was saying sometime last week, before Ivan, I could remember banks were 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And it was Ivan who entrenched those cultural things in our society.
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm sure we're going to share in some of the interviews next week how Janet actually brought about its own cultural changes, life after Janet. Livingston?
Yeah, I think I think what that program does, it forces me to go and to talk to some of the elders a little bit more often than I used to. And this is a very welcoming thing, because Scholar alluded to it, that when some of those people leave, they leave with a library of information. And as much as we can tap into it and share it, I think it is really worthwhile for what it may work for some people. And I know the joy that some people get from this program is just the reminiscing, reminding them of the youthful days and the things they experience. Unfortunately, everybody cannot call. Unfortunately, we cannot hear everybody. But when they meet me on the street, they kind of, they want to give feedback. They want to talk. I mean, even just this evening, coming up to Paradise, I have a new name now, no, Godfrey.
You have a new name?
I have a new name in Paradise.
What is your name now? What is your name now?
The new name is Tonight.
What?
You heard me?
No, you broke up there. What's your new name?
Okay, Tonight, that means tonight we're gonna meet tonight.
Okay. So, well, Scholar got a new name already, Condensed Milk. You is Tonight, Reece, you ain't got none yet, no?
No.
Well, nobody can call me nothing.
I almost got MIA.
Almost got MIA.
So Godfrey, I think we just need, I think what we did this week in particular, I think all of us went out and put a little icing on the cake. And I think going forward, that is a real learning and a real good method for us to consolidate the quality of the program that we wish to bring to the listeners. So
definitely so. Reece?
Well, there's a part of me that's sort of feeling guilty in a way that I feel like I am not being responsible enough in terms of assisting with the documentation of these things, the chronicling of it. Because as I hear Livingston speak and Scholar speak about the whole documenting thing, I remember Tower. And Tower is someone who left us. And Tower was like an cultural icon for me. When I saw Tower, I saw drumming. And there's a lot that has gone with him. So, all these people who were during the time of Janet, they're 60-something and older, and people are dying so young today. I mean, my grandmother died at 68. So I'm just thinking like we really, really seriously need to put effort into documenting a lot of these things. And, I'm here thinking that when I go to speak to people, I'm going to make sure that there's about 2 children with me. Because when the story is being told to me, they need to hear it too. Just to assist with sharing and making sure that it becomes entrenched in them that, you know, there was a yesterday, you know? I think that is really important. So I'm looking forward to next week's program where we talk more about Janet and also when we talk about Ivan.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, this is why we're trying to start to do a lot of recorded videos. So at least we have things that we can show. And I think it's important also that the people who we are interviewing, they get some credit. Because it is not an easy thing to live through an experience like that, in some cases near death. That lady, Miss Rush, Scholar, that's her name?
Miss Rush, yeah.
Yes, and you know, when she told us as she entered the door, that piece of galvanized came right, just, I mean, inches from her face. I mean, you these things, just to think about it alone. So these people deserve credit, you know, and being able to recall these moments. It says that these experiences really did something to them. So it's important, I have to agree with you guys, that we do all we can to document. And of course, to our listeners, we welcome your comments. You know, we just can't take every call. We would love to, but time doesn't permit. But we welcome the comments, you know, and we're looking forward to chronicling and documenting all of our history and all of the events that help shape our culture over the years. Because it's we culture. Guys, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And we'll be talking soon again.
Peace.
All the best.
All right.
That's our program this evening, folks. We thank you so very much for staying with us. We thank you, those of you who called and shared with us your experiences. Those who weren't able to get through, we do apologize, but stick with us. At some point, you will get through. So thanks again, and do enjoy the rest of the evening. By the way, folks, I will be off on vacation from, well, today, but I'll be back on Fridays to do the program. But of course, Joseph McKee, she will be taking over from me for the next 4 weeks while I go off and, you know, do a lot of the interviews. I'll be on vacation, but still working to get all the information together so we can bring you the best possible programs we can. Thank you, and do have a good night.
Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance round the maypole. Raise it high up the ladder, let we set it on fire. One higher, give me some fire. A little more calypso, forget the funk and the disco.